The greatest threat to humanity is not nuclear warfare, but indifference. It is a ethical battle, a battle of the minds that we have seen humanity, the human body, being stretched and moved and maneuvered with their physical body. We've seen the years of torture and torment. We've seen the years of oppression and what it does to people. We can see the greatest heights of privilege, of luxury, of self care. We have seen those that have made a difference in the scientific and the mathematical fields, as well as textile and agriculture. Those things should be acknowledged. But the major issue is that there are plenty of people that are ignored, and often worse than just being ignored, undercredited. This is where that indifference comes from. The workers, the children, even the fathers, acknowledging or putting things into a place and defining them as such, naming things as heroic when they're pretty trivial, things that are listed as helpful for a litany of people, when you can only really define it as a select few, to the points of their ambitions, their drives, and who they actually help. When you see that less and less people are actually aided with it, it becomes hard to not get disillusioned. It's hard to really make sense when we go into the future, realizing how many people did it actually help. How many of these conflicts and wars were as necessary as those claimed to be? How many of these conflicts were simply just those refusing to step down to a lower position, to a unfavorable role, something survivable, but lacking of adventure or drive? When I look back in the past, I am one that never says that war is useless. Now, war is a very useful tool. That there is nothing useless in this world. If it can be made, if it can be used, there's a reason. There's always a reason for conflict, always a reason to fight, and a reason to steady your hand. And I am not simply tricked by beautiful words, but also the action, the life that is lived amongst it. I've seen war in the most necessary state. Those that fight for their ethics, their word, a reason to continue to live, saying that there is no other way that I can go or continue. The life that I loved, that I had tried to live, that I had tried to do everything in effect to avoid this conflict. And yet I still stand here, so I have to give it my all. For either way, I am dead. I've seen war. I've seen those that have fought. Why young men seem to fight so heavily? Because they have nothing and they fight to gain. For a name, for honor, for position. Yes, sometimes it feels silly. But why is it silly to be seen, to want to want something that you can be proud of? Want something to hold up into the sky and say that this defines me, that this is something that I could be seen, and then want more. People look at that as bad, as greedy. And yes, greed does exist, but I don't necessarily see that as greed. For I am a man who wants more than I was handed to at birth, more than the position and status that my life has said that it deems. I want more. And there's not really an evidence other than the evidence of my soul. Nothing else to really show that, or at least that I can acknowledge, that I can really point to, that says in clear evidence. I would need someone else. Something within me that notes, that tears at myself, that says I deserve more than this. When I stay inside, I do not work out, I do not eat good food. I am trying to live the life that one has listed for me. And it doesn't feel good. I don't like it nor enjoy it. It gives me a headache, or it makes me feel bored. If a life is destined for me, then why do I not have a smile, any agreement, any sort of inspirational, anything necessarily positive that would lead me to this conclusion? It's hard to not look at it and say that if I'm destined to be this, if I'm destined to do this, why am I not good at it? I'd worked plenty of jobs, entry level or menial labor, whatever you want to consist the name. I was not good particularly at any of those jobs. I became rather well after a while, but at no point was I particularly good at those jobs. I was good at faking it. I was good at speaking with others. I was good at making a laugh or a comment. That's what I was good at. At every time that I would get a new job, I would fail at the task at hand, scratching my head, asking for better or more efficient ways. It wasn't that I hated the menial task. I hated the complex nature. It's so simple. You would look at a man who would say, why do we have cart boys? And someone says, that's a ridiculous question, to gather the carts back and put them into the store for another customer to use. And I would think, amongst these strange thinking men, why don't most put their carts back into the store for someone else to use? You would look at me and think I was strange, because that's the way in the life that we had grew up. That is the mindset. That is what's deemed acceptable by society. But does anyone ever really question, what if it wasn't? What would society look like if that was not the case? How would we live? What would we look like? And what further would change the world if that was the way that we thought about the world? I do not demand that people come to this idea, for I'm only one man, and conscripting an army to hold guns at those just to make them put the carts back. I'm going to commit a greater evil to get a trivial good. At no point will that even be logical to me, nor the people who would agree to put their carts back. I would demand use of that power. When that energy, when you have an excess of energy, you will do wild things. You will have no choice but to do with that power the most reckless, because there is no space, there's no barriers, no walls, no regulation to that energy. It's wild, untamed, untempt. So you will do something inherently wicked. It's because all of that is something that you earn, you build. You only take what you need, only eat when you're hungry, and then when you no longer are hungry, you allow for another to take, for another to indulge. We have gotten into a place or a time where we collect and gather as much as we can, as big as our hands are to carry them, and care not if the food becomes rotten or wasted. So used to eating in mass droves that one day, when you start to eat enough, and you get used to eating enough, one day when you start to realize that you're getting bigger and fatter and out of shape, and you're not sure what had caused this, your brain, your mind slowing down because you've only gathered the tastiest of foods, the foods that you indulge, or maybe the foods that help ease the pain, because you've developed a fear that you will not eat, a fear that one day you will grow weak. You have seen what you have done to others, and you believe that now it will be done to you. So you strike before they can strike you. Strike you before you ever become as weak as that. You become indifferent. Indifferent to those that you have killed, those that you will kill, those that you will affect. You forget the whole point. You're not eating to live, you're eating to eat. You're not trying to get any further. Luxury for the sake of luxury has no meaning, not to me. Everything has purpose, everything has reason, everything has ethics and a thought and a voice into my head. That I do not fond, I'm not fond of grandiose speeches. I'm not fond of Nobel Peace Prizes and award ceremonies. Not unless people truly believe in them, truly want to be there, truly aspire to have it, and to explain the criteria. Otherwise, it's empty. And I think that emptiness really shows how hollow it is. That if these things are so pristine, then why, with a Nobel Peace Prize, are you not as strong as the president or as the elected leaders? If I am so strong, then why can't these millions of views on YouTube change and truly affect the lives of those in the worst position? It's because their lies or masquerades. They're supposed to be very trivial, to make yourself like jingling keys in front of a baby, make yourself feel better. I've grown rather indifferent myself, or maybe I've grown stronger. No longer just as afraid, but maybe this is what confidence is. Not that I still do not fear death, but I also realize that I'm not really living. That no matter what I do, it seems that it always inevitably leads me into the route where I need to go, of honor and commitment, the voice truly speaking as such, because I will not lie to myself. That I know that inevitably, if I keep going on a route of indifference, then I will be indifferent to myself. I will grow numb. I see the men and women when I pass the street. I know that I can't help them, but I never deny that I see them. I never deny it to myself. When I walk past the street and I see a homeless man or a woman or any person, sometimes I hide my food. You would think that that would be mean or insensitive or rude. You would say, why, if you feel guilty, why not give them some spare change or any of that situation? But I've come to a realization that I don't know what is necessarily the right way. But I'm not afraid to say what I have done or what I'm doing. I hide the food not because I fear them or am mad if they do try to take it. I would not be mad. I say that I hide it for two reasons. My safety. and I do not want to see them or have them perceive that I am indifferent to them, that I don't care that the smells might set off a hunger, that I do not have the luxury for any more funds spent on another person, that I am aware that the situation that they're in isn't necessarily one of my direct making, but that I should aspire to do something about it, that it should never leave my heart that this person had lived and existed. Though I do not know their name, and nor do I want to get to know their name, that I will acknowledge them as human. That's the very least. Grandiose speeches are just lies to yourself, to make make yourself seem like to wave the attention off of yourself and onto someone else, to speak so highly of yourself, to ignore. At first, you think that pity is a good emotion, but it is just cowardice, a lie. I do not pity any man, for I believe that no man is weaker than me. I do not pity women. I do not show this lie. I think that people are fully capable, and if given and put into the right positions, then they will soar past me. For I've seen my own weakness. I've seen myself. How have I gotten this far? I think that if anything that I can do is to show that if you are in the right position, if you can acknowledge yourself, if you can love yourself, and you can understand the world in the greatest, in an authentic way, to be real and to speak with God, not in a religious way, not become Christian or Catholic, but to speak with God and decide for yourself. What does that mean? What is your own garden? What are you trying to aspire for? What truly are your deepest wishes? What are your true thoughts? Not the perception. That is always the issue, the perception. You want to feel big. You want to be seen as big. You want to be seen as honorable. You want to feel honorable. But what do you truly want? If you did not care about the state or the nature of the world, what would your house look like? If the state and nature of the world was not at jeopardy, what would your house look like? What would you do? And how practical would it be? I had dreamed of a house that was only 6 bedrooms, and I thought that was a bit narcissistic. Someone said, why would you need that many bedrooms, and what would you do? And each one I had a defined use for it. I spoke about it in great detail and envisioned it. That I realized that I could chop it down, and maybe I can, confine spaces. And I can always add in the future. But I said 6 bedrooms. And when someone told me, hey, that seems a bit excessive, I had believed them initially and became a little bit scared. But I realized when I spoke to another that they had similar dreams or aspirations. The house that I currently reside in has 4 bedrooms. And I say that it's not enough. That I've seen that the space, even though nice, and it meets a base necessity for survival, does not equal the what true survival is. Surviving is not scrounging for scraps. It is not just waking up the next day and hoping to live for the next hours. It is being able to think, to perceive, to live. That I realized that I never asked or wished or dreamed for a mansion, a manor with 20 bedrooms, even though those places exist. That I did not dream of multiple cars, that I did not dream of fast women, of loose women. I didn't dream that. It did not make me a better man for not dreaming it if others do. What I had recognized is that when you're authentic with yourself and what you dream and aspire for, well, then you can strive to get it, to live it. How long can I live it? Why did you choose this instead of that? Why choose the 6 bedroom instead of just being satisfied with the 4? Why choose to have a house at all? If you could choose between the house or the manor, why would you choose the house or the manor? Which would you actually strive for? And I said I would strive for the house because I can maintain the house, because I believe that I can live the rest of my life with this one house. If the situation changes, I believe that I know what best to do, how to traverse this field, to go into what I need to. I do not lie to myself and try to add myself or put myself into more of a position. I said to myself that if I am not ready now, then what do I need to do to become ready? Am I willing to die maintaining this position? Myself, no other. Would I even risk the lives of my children and the lives of my wife? See, it seems like it's an honorable thing. Oh, I will die alone and I will die standing. But really, that is what you wish. If your wife loves you, why would she not die with you? Why would anyone wish to have the love of their life sacrifice themselves? It seems as it's an impressive feat to be alone. But I'm going to be truthful. I've spent a majority of my life alone. That people who said that they loved me, there would be people around me, people that speak with me, people that know my name but know nothing really of me. They would say a few characteristics, a few things that would describe me as I looked physically, but they would not, they barely had any reference, any joke, any understanding of how I felt. It would be interesting and hilarious, for it would be a pleasant surprise because they never saw it coming. I was a joke. But when my girlfriend, who will become my wife, had met me, I had recognized in her that I never really told jokes, though people got used to laughing at me. That she thought I was very funny, but she understood that my humor, where I was actually making jokes and not simply speaking of my life, that she could tell the difference. She could tell that I had developed a nervous laugh, or a laugh of pity, to replicate the laughs that others had made every time I had said anything. She would understand. And I said to myself, what else am I supposed to aspire for? Why would I want to be a general? Why would I want to command all these men to fight and die, to stay away, to keep them alive, when my life is good at home? Is it impressive to be a general? Is it because I want my wife to acknowledge me as a general? He's doing such an important job, a big job. Does it seem like it's impressive? Why is it important? I believe that it's okay. That's not to say that it's not a important job, but is it important to you? And is it important to me? Why do I have to see it on the same status? Why do I have to teach my kids that that's an important job more so than my job or a worker in fast food, I say that I don't know what the general does. His job is heavily shrouded in secrecy. I cannot make a discernment of what he does and does not do because I do not know what his job entails if he does it well. I can't even tell you if my freedom is good, for I don't know what I don't have. How can I critique something that I am not privy to? They say that there's a door or a wall that the general had built, and the general says that if I go and look past the wall or go over it, that I will die. Am I supposed to inherently give the general praise? How do I know that the general is true? Is the general a scientist as well? A doctor? Does the general have omnipotence, clairvoyance? Sometimes it's best to recognize that I don't know, and I don't want to give credit where credit is not due. But I do know one thing. The man that works at the fast food restaurant, when I order the food, he prepares my food. That the young man that looks clean or at least a little bit disheveled but looks at me and asks me how my day is doing, I know with guarantee and certainty that he is doing his best and will prepare my food as best as he can. Now, that doesn't mean that the meat might not be bad.